Bobbi Boudman here, running for office, state rep in Carroll County District 7, which is Tuftonboro, Ossipee, and Wolfboro. We're going to continue these videos from before. We've gone through and we're on number 6 now. So these videos are about 2 letters that were written. One I wrote to the Conway Daily Sun on August 9th, and then the answer Glenn Cordelli gave me on August 21st, where he called me a liar numerous times, and he's all over Facebook calling me a liar and having other people do that. So we're going to get to the heart of what Glenn Cordelli really sponsored and what he voted on. So we're on number 6. So again, this is the 10 votes or bills that I asked Glenn Cordelli to meet with me and debate me over, which the Conway Daily Sun offered him to debate me, and he turned it down. He hasn't done any forums. He hasn't done any public like meet and greets where anyone from the community can come and ask him questions. He's just kind of hiding. Last Friday, he was at a meeting where it was a partisan event with just John McDonald and Katie Peternell, and Glenn Cordelli sat in the audience. So even there in his own district in Wolfboro, the Wolfboro Library, he did not sit at the front table and accept questions, and then right before the end he ran out so no one could address him. So anyway, we're on 6 now, and this one is sponsored legislation to take away art, music, sports, and computer courses in our public schools. Again, my sentence is just quick, easy, and now we will look at his answer. Another lie by Bobbi Boudman. I did not sponsor legislation to take away art, music, and sports. Legislation that I did sponsor simply said the schools should emphasize reading, math, science, and social studies. It eliminated nothing. We shall see. Have you seen the proficiency scores at our schools in the basic subjects? Check them out and tell me that they should not be emphasized. Okay, let's check them out. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so Mr. Cordelli is saying that I lied, that he did not sponsor legislation. So let's look at his legislation. Actually, first, let's look at the current law. So here is the current chaptered law on adequate public education. And this is going to tie back in with that money we talked about for Ossipee, that $2.8 million that Glenn Cordelli is trying to make Ossipee have appropriated onto their property taxes and no longer state funding. So adequate public education is, we shall see, but we will see the schools, the property poor towns, who Mr. Cordelli does not believe deserve all areas of educational learning. So here's the current law, and you can see we have 11 areas that are covered in our adequate education. So English, math, science, social studies, art, world languages, health and wellness, physical education, engineering, technologies, personal finance, literacy, and computer science. Just a couple years ago, they added in 22 the financial literacy. I think it was 22. Let's go down here. Yeah, in 22 they added the last part was put in. Anyway, so this is what we have for an adequate education, currently the law. So now let's look at Glenn Cordelli's sponsored bill. So here is Glenn Cordelli's sponsored bill, session in 2024. So that was this year. He sponsored, see right there, Rep. Cordelli, he's prime sponsor on it, House Bill 1691, relative to the definition of an adequate public education. So let's see what Glenn Cordelli felt was an adequate public education for our public schools, not for his school vouchers, because we'll look at those too, but for our public schools. So we just looked at the current law, and all these all these areas, these 11 areas, were all covered by adequate education. So this law is basically downgrading 7 areas out of adequate education, meaning that only property-rich towns, or only towns who can afford these extra subjects, their schools would have them. The schools that cannot afford these extra areas of learning, if they are in a town that receives state funding, they would not receive state funding for these areas. They could only cover English, math, science, or social studies. After that, all these other areas for an adequate education shall be defined and identified as school approval. So only if the schools are willing after that. He was downgrading these areas. So if it is a property-rich town, they're obviously going to choose it. If it's a property-poor town, which again, we'll go back and I have some tabs open and we can cover that. So here are the areas, and it's not just the 4 I mentioned. It is arts education, world languages, health and wellness, physical ed, engineering and technology, personal finance literacy, and computer science. If you're in what's called a property poor town and you get state aid, you would no longer be able to use that state aid in any of these areas of education. I mean, this is just, it's highly problematic, and I'm about to show you why. So while Mr. Cordelli is putting in this, he is then also, so here's adequate education, which if you didn't watch the OSIP video explaining the 2.8 million there, then you might want to understand what adequate education, because I don't think in this video I'm going to go through it again, or we'll be here for an hour. Anyway, so we give out our state with, our lottery and our liquor store, and with our currently our I&D taxes, but they're going away, and our business enterprise taxes and our business profits tax. They make up our education trust fund. So this is kind of the areas where we get this funding from. It does not come from our property taxes. But we also have funding that comes from our property taxes. So some towns fund their whole adequate education, basically. Some towns don't. So if we went down this list, the towns that just have a blank, those are the towns that would be able to keep all those other areas of content. All these towns that are getting money from the state, they could not use that state aid. So, that's weird, it's chopped off. They could not use that state aid money if Glenn Cordelli's bill went through. So this just was one more way to dismantle education, public education for our children. So all of our towns who receive adequate education funds, basically, that are not coming from their swept property taxes. Again, watch the OSIP video explaining the 2.8 million. And you'll understand what all this means. If you didn't watch that, I recommend watching that. Anyway, so while this is happening, while he's downgrading our educational opportunities for our children, he is then using those same funds, which he's not telling his school vouchers that they can't use those funds for their adequate education. And this is for state fiscal year ending this 2025, and $27 million. $27 million is being paid into areas of those subjects that he just tried to downgrade. And I'm going to show you where this $27 million is going, while at the same time he's telling our public school kids they can't have those extra areas. So as we've discussed before in other videos, our school vouchers go through Children's Scholarship Fund. And it is a New York-based fund that then sends the money to Florida, that then sends it back. And now these are the education providers for the same adequate education that they're saying in school vouchers on that bill. And this is the current list of providers. And let me show you the current list of providers. Martial arts. So we can spend adequate education on martial arts, Second Nature Academy, I don't know what that is, driving school, karate, volleyball club, Broadway Kids Company. So I'm seeing PE and theater and everything else in here. So while we're giving money to people who have never, 95% have never had their kids in GWRSD, only 5 children left. So Glenn Cordelli is downgrading our public schools and what an adequate education is. At the same time, we are then funding these school vouchers for, AAA. AAA? What? Like what? We're giving a school voucher for AAA? Oh my. Oh my. So I highly recommend you go through some of these because it is astounding where some of our money goes. Jason Osborne, the majority leader, he has a learning center. Oh, let's see if his learning center is here. He has a learning center, and he runs programs for lockpicking. He runs programs for Zodiac. Poker. We pay for poker for a state representative. Gets our state money. Anyway, so, yeah, I think we know who, again, let's see, again, who may be the one who is telling the lie. So, folks, you gotta vote on November 5th. And it's time for change. It's time to get rid of Mr. Cordelli. His views on dismantling public education are so detrimental. 165,000 children. His policies and his laws he's trying to put in their effect. So please, go to the polls, vote on November 5th, and vote for the person who believes in transparency, the person who's actually telling you the truth. And that is not Glenn Cordelli. And simply Glenn Cordelli writing everywhere that I'm a liar. I'm showing you the truth, people. Please vote. Please vote. Thank you.